Welcome back to the bench. Today we have a BBC Micro Model B to look at. I recently purchased this in an eBay auction along with a couple of floppy drives and a BBC Master. BBC Master I've already tested and it works. But this one I wanted to save because I wanted to make a video on this because this is a machine quite dear to my heart. This is the first computer that I ever used. Not this particular one obviously, but yes, so at the ripe old age of 10 back in the mid 80s, yeah, this was the computer I had at home, and of course a lot of people in the UK will recognise this because it was in a lot of schools at the time. It's the British Broadcasting Corporation microcomputer system. It was designed and built by Acorn to the BBC specifications. There's actually a good docu-film called Micromen, which I highly recommend watching, which explains a lot of the history of this machine and the old 8-bit microcomputer revolution of the early to mid 80s. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this machine. As you can probably see, it is in really filthy condition. I mean, this is just completely full of grime. Even the power cable itself is, yeah, not good. Bit of damage there, but not too severe. So yeah, this needs a really good clean. I mean, it's so filthy, I'm surprised I didn't put on a hazmat suit for this, So, let's have a quick look all around. And just moving it around, you can hear there's actually something rattling around inside. So, something is either come loose or is broken off. Some corrosion on the pins on the analog port. That's where you would connect the joystick. We've got UFH out for connecting to the TV, video out. I'm not sure if that's composite or S-video. I think it might just be composite, so black and white. We've got the RGB connector, RS423 cassette, and this is where the Ethernet would go, which was an Acorn networking system. Most systems didn't come with this fitted as standard. This is an option that you could buy later and install yourself. The great thing about these computers is there was never any warranty seal because they actually designed it so that you could take it apart and expand it, and they encouraged it. So it's just 4 screws to take the case apart. So 2 at the back there and these 2 here. So let's get these screws out and we'll see what we've got inside. You can see from the underside the plastic is a lot lighter. This is more of the original colour than what's on top, because I'd like to say it's quite yellowed, but it's a bit hard to tell with all this grime on. I don't think we'll see how yellowed it is until we get all that grime off. So the last time I took the lid off one of these things, I was a teenager, which is a long time ago. And we're in. Oops, there's something in there. I just ripped the cable out. Okay, so stuck to the underside of the lid is a Watford Electronics 32K RAM card. Awesome find. So that's going to be a sideways RAM, so you'd be able to use it maybe like probably as a RAM disk or to load in some ROMs from files on a disk. Looks like the RAM chips are socketed, so I don't know whether that means that they've been replaced at some point because everything else is in sort of directly to the board, with the exception of this, which is actually the this is the 65C. That's not a C, that's probably a misprint. It should be 6502. not 65C2A. So that's the CPU. So this board obviously relocates the CPU onto here. Let's just see if we can just pop that off. I'm just going to put on my anti-static wrist strap. I want to zap the board. So that one's obviously come detached. Okay, so no, those RAM chips were originally socketed. There's no sign of it's been reworked. So maybe they put those on this. So maybe you can, it says 32K RAM card, but maybe you can replace the RAM with higher value chips and it would just work. I'd have to do some research on that one. Okay, so pins are a little bit bent because I just drag this out of the board, so I'll have to straighten those back out later. Let's put it to one side for now. Okay. And there is another card in here, but it looks at a funny angle, so maybe that was what was rattling around. So what we need to do is take the keyboard out now, and that was held in by these two bolts, which are quite loose. So obviously it's been off before. Okay, we'll take our keyboard out. Looks like somebody fitted a switch to the speaker, which looks ugly. So that can go. Maybe they just wanted to turn the sound off. Yeah, it's a nasty bodge. So the keyboard on these was a proper keyboard. So with proper key switches, none of this tactile dome rubbish or Sinclair membrane rubbish with rubber keys. Proper clunking keyboard. Yeah, it's pretty filthy. So this is going to have to be stripped down and cleaned. Okay, this is our RAM board. It's got a fly lead on there. What I'm going to do is, before I start moving this around, is to take a photo of where those connect to, so that I know for reference for later where they went. Okay, and what do we have here? We have a ROM chip floating around, and it's got B05 on it. Okay, don't know what B05 is. So yeah, that's obviously what was rattling around, and this thing is a sideways ROM board, and it's also rattling around. It's not connected. And yeah, I don't know how well that's coming through, but those pins are pretty bent up. So let's just detach. It's on a jumper. Yeah, we can detach that. And the little grabber. Love these little grabbers. So yeah, we can see that the pins are all bent to buggery. So yeah, this definitely wouldn't have worked if we'd have switched it on. Okay, so this chip's got B04 on it. So I don't know what that is. This one says Disk Doctor. I do remember Disk Doctor, and that was some utilities for this. This one looks like DAS3-4. No idea what that is. Okay, here we've got 32K RAM, Watt for Electronics, so that's going to be the control ROM that goes with the sideways RAM board. This one, I'm not sure what this is. Something, it looks like $EA down. So no idea what that one is. And this one says Constar. Constar. Maybe that's some kind of modem software. Constar. Not too sure. It seems to have a serial number on it, 21675. even this has, so maybe it's a Watford Electronics one, because yeah, you look at the Watford Electronics, it's got 32246 on there. So this we can straighten the pins out, hopefully. They don't look like most of them are too badly bent. It's just a couple here in the middle that are really, really bent up. And this will just be some decoding logic for the chips. But what I don't see are the MOS and the CMOS and the BASIC chip, and non-existent. So maybe, because they would have come originally on two 8K chips, I do believe. And if looking at this is a 27128. So that's a 16K chip. And the way this goes would be in here, this is where normally you would put your MOS chip, your CMOS, your BIOS basically. And then you would have the BASIC next to it. I'm wondering whether somebody has copied the BASIC and the MOS onto a single chip here, and then this decodes it so that the computer sees it's two separate chips. This is what I'm thinking. So if that's B04 and this is B05, does that mean BASIC 4 and BASIC 5? Or is it just the owner's numbering system? We will have to find out. But before we can do any of that, we need to take a look at this thing here. These power supplies are notorious for going up in smoke, not destructively. They have something known as a RIFA capacitor, which is a suppression capacitor, because these are switch mode power supplies, and they dry out, crack, and yeah, they can go short circuit and give you a nice big puff of smoke. So yeah, before we even try to switch it on, we've got to take those out. You can run the power supply without them, but obviously it is better to replace them. But let's just take a quick look at this motherboard. So this is an issue 4 motherboard. I would have hoped for an issue 7. This is probably the last revision, the best revision. But issue 4 is not too bad. I don't think there was an issue 5 and 6. I think they went to issue 4 and then straight to issue 7. This is fitted with the optional floppy drive controller. So one of these chips then should be the DFS chip, DFS ROM. Maybe it's this one. Oh, that could just be let's put some magnification on. That could be, what is that? Okay. Looks like DN75 3-4 maybe? I don't know. It's also on a 16K chip. Doesn't look like it's pushed all the way in. No, it isn't. Okay. So this could be a DFS chip, because unless this is, no idea. I think the BBC could take up to 16 ROMs in total. But you only had room for 4 extra on the board. Well, not extra, because you would have the BASIC here, so then you'd have 3 for the user. And then a popular add-on for these was these sideways RAM cards. So yeah. I know Watford Electronics used to do a 12 ROM board, sideways ROM board. Okay, so let's just get these power cables disconnected. Now they are marked on the board, so yeah, 0 volts there. I can see the 0 volts is marked, but I don't see the marking for the 5 volt. No, they only mark the 0 volts. So as long as you've got the 0 volts in the right place, you're a good one. Oh no, you've got VCC, okay, rather than just 5 volts. Wouldn't it be easier just to write 5 volts? I suppose we've got VCC 1, 2. So this used, this will be the 5 volt line, and this is the minus 5 volt. Minus 5 volt would be for the sound generation, because obviously that would be an AC waveform, analog. Okay, so that's disconnected, and then there should be 3 screws on the bottom that we need to take out. And she's free. I'll switch on the soldering iron to get it warmed up. Okay. So here is our power supply. Here is our power cable. It's tangled up at the moment. And now I'm entangled up. Okay. Let's just move this out of the way for the moment. Okay, some crud dropping out. Right. You don't want an anti-static wrist strap on while you're working on a power supply. It's not good karma. Okay, so here we can see down here our RIFA capacitor. There's one there, and I think there's usually 2 in these. Yeah, there's another one under here. So 0.1 mic. I can't see the other one yet. So let's get this board out. Okay, after much faffing around, she's out. Okay, so there are our 2 RIFAs. And I can already see this one's all cracked up at the top, and so is this one. So we can whip those out, put some new ones in, and then we'll see how she judges. I'll put a bit of flux on there, so it's these 2 here. I just got these off eBay, so you get the old syringe and a huge selection of these little nozzles, and yeah, make great applications for flux. Okay, and these 2. And then to stop it drying out, I just use, this is just one of those squishing ear protectors. So I just push it in there and job done. Okay, got a nice big wide tip on there. Let's give it a quick clean. Not all that old crusty solder. Yeah, I don't think it's going to quite come out all the way. Yeah, it's a really tight fit in that hole, so I might have to switch to the yank it out while it's hot method. Oh no, it's coming. At least on one side. Yeah, there we go. that dropped right out. So it doesn't look like it's in too bad of a condition. But yeah, it definitely needs replacing. I'll take some a high-res shot and put it in as an overlay, because I don't think this will come off too good on the camera. Yeah, it's got chips missing out of there. So that's one down. Let's see if she'll come out. Yeah, she is a-coming. And she's out. And yeah, this one is in very bad condition. There is a huge crack right across here. So if I, and off the back, if I had plugged this thing in, it probably would have immediately gone pop. You can just measure that with the meter and see if there is any, if they're shorted. And continuity, and see what happens. No continuity. But it probably would have gone pop, because the inrush of electricity would have probably have broken down whatever resistance is left inside there. And yeah, it would have gone pop. Okay, so let's replace them. Okay, let's just check this for size. That's actually a bit smaller. Yeah. Okay, so the values on these were 1 mic, or 0.1 mic. So I do have a 0.1 mic, but it's smaller. And this one was 0.1, 0.01. Okay, so I don't have that particular value. And I don't have this value in this size. So I'll use the 0.1 to replace this one. And then it's too big, too small. Oh, there's the RIFA capacitor I took out of the master power supply before I turned it on. I wonder where that got to. It's too big. Oh, slightly too big. How many is that? That's 470. That's way too big. Okay. This is the right. No, it's still a little bit bigger. Okay, I may have to leave that one out for now and then order some. Yeah, even this one is slightly bigger. I don't have a very big selection of X2 capacitors. Is either slightly too big or way too big? Why do they have to be different sizes? Bastard. Okay, so for now I'm just going to put the one back in there, because I don't have two. And it'll have to be C1 because, oh, then again, just noticed that that second capacitor position actually has 2 different drill hole sizes. So maybe I can get one of these smaller ones in. I can. Awesome. Okay, so this is 220, so that's basically twice the size, so it's not ideal, but we've got to work with what we have. Oh, that cleared nice and easy. Oh. Okay, so let's see if we can get that in there. It's a little bit between components. My fat fingers are too big to get in there. Oh, that's one side in, and the other side. Yes. Okay, we'll bend the pins over to keep it in there. Okay, 230 volts, 215 volts. Okay, I'm guessing that's a voltage selector, but there's nothing in it. Maybe you bridge it for, yeah. Maybe if you bridge these two pads, it puts it into a 115 volt. Who knows? Unless it's where you connect the, oh, these are the main input wires. I have no idea. Where did I put the capacitor? Here we go. Okay, so we'll put that one in here. Solder, here we go. Now this is leaded solder. So the board originally would be leaded solder, so it's always best to use the same type of solder. Don't be tempted to use lead-free solder on here, just to be environmentally friendly. And hell no. I'm all for environmental friendliness, but yeah, you got to use like for like. Okay, so that's our two new X2s. I probably will replace these with the correct values at a later date. I just have to order some. So I will make sure I keep the knackered ones so I can get the right hole spacings. And yeah, these are genuine RIFAs, not to be confused with the other kind of RIFA, although both kinds of RIFAs do smoke, except for one actually smokes and the other one you smoke. Okay, let's just get a bit of IPA on there just to clean off that flux. Okay, give it a bit of a brush. Jobs are good. So the actual electrolytics, I'm not going to replace it this time. I might do them at a later date. It's probably good for future proofing, but these actually look like they're in pretty good condition. There's no kind of sign of leaking or bulging. So it depends on how hard this thing was driven, how long it was used for, but yeah. Everything looks okay. There's no kind of heat scorching on the board. BSR MFG Limited. That's the maker of the board, and it looks like they did a pretty good job. That's Aztec Components Limited on that side. Even with the power resistors down there near the transformer, there's no kind of sign of overheating or anything, so it's good. Let's get her back together and then we can straighten the pins out on that board, plug it in, switch it on and see what happens. Okay, so that's the RIFA capacitors replaced and our PSU reassembled. I'm going to pop it back in the case, power it up, and then just check the voltages on the actual cables before actually plugging it into the motherboard, just in case there's some nasty voltages on there. I'd rather sacrifice the power supply than the main board. Okay, I need to put a new cable tie on there, but I can do that later. I need to get the plug through first. Now, one thing I did notice is this did come with a non-molded plug, which is strange. It would have originally come with a molded plug, so for some reason somebody's removed that. I have checked the wiring in here and it is okay. First. Yeah. Okay, so that's secured back on there. I'll stick in the on position and then I will plug it in. So that way I'm not touching it if it goes bang. Oh, ye of little faith. And for that I need a adapter. Because I live in the EU, in Berlin, in Germany. Well, nothing went bang. Let's test some voltages. So we've got 5.2 on the 5-volt line. And we've got minus 4.5. Maybe it's just a bad connection. It's not easy to get the probes into these little clips. Yeah, minus 4.5, so our minus 5 rail is a little off. Okay, that could be within spec, or maybe we have to do some troubleshooting. Yeah, no, that's fine. So, as long as it's half a volt lower than it should be, it's better than being half a volt higher. Okay, so next step is to look at these pins. See if we can get these straightened out. This side is not too bad. Put that in. Oh, that's nice, the board's actually hitting the top of the jumper there. Okay, so it seemed to go in, push it out again, and yeah, it still seems to be. These don't look like dual wipe sockets, these look like single wipe sockets. It's not ideal. Okay, so that's in there. I'll put the jumper wire back on there. And this came off the end pin here on this door 74LS00. I think it's like an AND gate or something like that. Okay, power wires. -5. Okay, 0 volts. Very important we get these the right way around. Okay. So VCC and the last set. Here we go. So 0 volts and the VCC is 3. Okay. The strange thing about these computers, I've never heard of it on any other computer, is that you have to have the keyboard plugged in, otherwise it will not turn on. Because some of the configuration options are on the board. And you must use one of these ICs to detect things. So, I don't know how many years it's been since this thing was switched on, but let's see if we have life. Oh no, we have to put this in first. It's not going to get far without a CPU. Okay, I just need to bend these pins a little bit back into shape. That's better. Ish. Okay, so I'm going to assume that the red stripe is pin 1. It was on the case like that. So yeah, that would fit. Should we get it on without bending any pins over? That would ruin our day. That's it. I'll hang that out the back so nothing short circuits. So, fingers crossed, do we have life? No. Completely dead. Not even a... I did get the power rails on the right way. Yes. Yes. And yes. That 5-volt line may be causing an issue. We're getting something on there, but not a lot. Let's just disconnect this board for a second. Let's see. One of the pins didn't go in. There's a little bit of rogue pin. Although I don't think that would have caused the problem. I'm not sure. Nope. Maybe this is in the wrong place. No. There's some kind of distortion coming out of... Yeah, let's just rule out this RAM card by putting our... Oh, I should really be wearing the anti-static strap, shouldn't I? Let's rule out the RAM card by putting the CPU directly on the board. It could also be that we have a bad CPU. Or it could be that that red cable is not pin 1. No, still nothing. So, try time to replace some chips. Let's see here. I need a spare 6502, which I have in this old Commodore 64 disk drive, because this has I think 6502 and two 6522s, VIAs. This one's a bit beaten up. It was in perfect working order, and then some idiot, namely me, went and dropped it and smashed the plastic. So now I will use it for spares. Unfortunately, the 6502 is soldered on. Shite. I was hoping that it would be socketed and I could just whip it out. Oh well. So I think this video has probably gone on long enough. So I'm going to leave it here, and then we will go for part 2, I think. Unfortunately, I don't know if I have any 8K ROMs, because what I want to do is maybe download a copy of the MOS and the BASIC chip if I can find them online, which I should hopefully be able to, and put those in to try and rule out this board as the actual possible problem. Because yeah, I have no idea what's in these chips. I suppose I could read them, have a look, see what's on there. Yeah, so definitely part 2 will be doing some diagnostics, seeing if we can figure out why she doesn't chooch, and then there's probably going to be a third part maybe where we give this thing a good thorough scrubbing, get the old girl looking gleaming. There's any number of chips that could be bad on here, so it's just a case of tracking down which one. Some of them are not essential chips, so we can probably pull them out and then check to see. Well, I did notice some of these RAM chips seem to be socketed, so it looks like maybe it's had a RAM problem at some point, and that they've replaced them. Yeah, because this is organized as 2 banks of 16K. So this bank here, 2, 4, 5, and up to here, I'm guessing, and then there's another set of chips here. So that's our RAM. So it could be that it's got a RAM problem. I think this jumper here, S31, maybe is the bank selector. Yeah, but we're not even getting an initial, so it's not even trying to boot. So I suspect maybe this 6502 is toast. Maybe somebody's messed around with this, give it a static zap, and it's taken it out. Those are 4416s. These are 4816s. Is that 8164? Yeah. So I might have some replacement chips that, or I can steal them out of this. I think the C64 uses these same type size chips. I'd have to check. Not sure. Okay, so I'm going to leave this one here. As I said, it's probably gone on long enough. It's got even longer because I just kept waffling. So if you like this video, then, you know, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to get notified of future uploads, you can always ring my bell. And yeah, thank you for watching. Over and out.